Good morning. Let's start with the disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. All content is for informational purposes only based on personal opinions and experiences. Trading futures, options, and other financial instruments involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for every investor. You can lose more than your initial investment, so always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional. Okay, so here's the news today. Basically just 10 a.m. new home sales and not even super important. Pretty light today overall, and then Fed speaker at 12. So that's basically it, or that is it on the news. So let's go through the pre-market sheet. So you have preserved one time framing higher on the weekly, as you can see. You weren't able to break this last week's low, so that is preserved. You're still not doing anything on the daily. You have initiated one time framing lower. So like if we break yesterday's low and hold yesterday's high, then full session, then we'd be one time framing lower on the daily, basically. So yeah, that's the one time framing. I said we're in a small gap now, but I said either way we're still opening in a balanced condition in my eyes, because this is sort of now, this has kind of just added to the balance. You just sort of extended a little bit, and now that you've reverted higher. And so my thinking, like I said last night, I don't know if it was on the video or not, but it wasn't. I said like we potentially could open here just to close, because this is a 2-tick gap from yesterday that we left off. And so if we just open like literally right in here, it's good to just close the gap, close the new gap if you made a small one, and then carry on with the day kind of thing, which looks to be the case, but we'll see. We've got an hour and a half almost until we open, so we'll see where we actually end up opening. There was the gap lower yesterday that's still open. Like I said, we missed 2 ticks of it. It's basically fully closed though. This is still the swing high. I wouldn't really consider this a swing low yet. You could probably argue it. And if we have a bigger reversion day, I probably will as well. But we'll see how today plays out. Yeah. So weak swing high, like I said. As for yesterday's range, you've got yesterday's low, which is good, and then yesterday's high, which is weak, which was another reason why I thought there was a potential that we could open here, and settle being there as well. I went through the one time framing. You had a neutral extreme day yesterday. A neutral extreme day, I forget the exact definition. Maybe it could be neutral, but it looks like neutral extreme. Neutral extreme is basically when you break both IB high and IB low and then close, I think, at least 50% of the IB's range above either above or below IB high or IB low. But for it to be neutral extreme, it needs to at least be half the IB's range. So whatever the IB's range is today, maybe 50, 60 ticks, it's like, well, then this move has to be at least 30. So looks good for a neutral extreme. Even if it's not perfectly technical, it has the look of a neutral extreme, which is the important part, right? So the main thing is that, well, you break both IBs and then close above or below. You close out of the IB. That's basically a neutral extreme for me. So yes, key levels. So key levels above us, we've got the overnight high. Now we're below it, but yesterday's high. And then we've got the naked stuff from yesterday, and then the 5-day and the MC up here. And then below us, you've got overnight low. You've got yesterday's low. And then you've got the prior week low, which is key. And then you've got this naked VPOC here, and then you've got obviously the key purple zone that I've been referencing this weekend. I think end of last week. Yeah, so that's the pre-market sheet. So let's get into the TPO stuff. All right, so here's the TPO chart. So as you can see, we had the gap day yesterday, gap lower. Sorry, just turn my news down. Yeah, so we had the gap lower day. Like I said, you closed basically the full gap. You left 2 ticks, and now you're up here. Basically, the overnight came down, checked down, and then came back up. And the overnight was not able to extend yesterday's RTH low even. So at this point, it doesn't look super convincing for continuation along in my eyes, honestly. Like, especially now fully reverting and being in a small gap higher. Like, that really doesn't yield too much confidence for me for a short continuation, at least down to this zone for today. Like, it is Friday, and so we could easily do it next week. It just, in my head at least, seemed nice if we would have tested this into Friday, end of week, and then, moved on to the next thing next week. But yeah, so maybe we do it next week or at another time. Maybe we never do it. I don't really know. But yeah, like now that we're back above, like for me to really be convinced of continuation, you need to like get through settle and ideally, be staying below sort of the value areas of yesterday. If you can get below here and you can like maintain prices down here, then we could end up closing near the lows, or potentially if we have a more aggressive directional day, actually extending and going. But just from a time standpoint alone, to get from here to the low, from where we are now to yesterday's RTH low, could take a while if we're not super aggressive with it. Could end up taking a few hours, right? Which you only got 6 or 7 more hours of trade until the actual weekend starts, right? Or whatever, 8 hours. So yeah, but like I said, it is dependent on where we open. Like we could end up opening below that area and then we check settle and continue lower. We'll just have to see. So it doesn't, like I said, yield too much confidence, that situation of like opening below settle, just because like I said, you did check lower. Like the overnight, that's pretty much all the overnight did. We pushed lower, we sort of consolidated down here. We made a couple attempts to try and push towards the lows, couldn't, and reverted back higher, right? So yeah, like this could easily continue on the high side. That would probably be the main scenario, I guess, would be continuation back into the MC area or potential chop in this value area. But we've got naked stuff from this day. Oh, and we're below settle. See, guys? Like, so, what was that? Let me turn my news back on. We can see what this drop is here. Oh, it was Trump recommending a 50% tariff on the EU. Okay, so there we go. There we go. I was just talking about it and it happened. So now you're at the low. See, things have significantly changed. Now it looks a lot better for the continuation lower. Like we could revert quickly because this was news driven, but it could also continue lower. Like the main thing here would be the consolidation area, which you can see by this volume. If you can get below this, then it starts to look really good for potentially even a gap open lower. But if we get support like it looks like what is happening now, we could end up just still opening up in here to fix up the gap. But yeah, I lost my train of thought because of that, but let me just go through. So Yeah, so now that you are below settle, you are below the value metrics of yesterday, VPOC and POC. The test of settle now becomes more important since you're opening within prior day's range. So like a push up that holds settle and goes, that now looks much better for shorts for a continuation towards yesterday's low if we can't get above settle. And vice versa, if we can get above settle and we're staying above and we close the gap and then it looks good for at least naked VPOCs, naked settles from yesterday. Um, so we're moving quite a bit here right now, so it's kind of hard. But you got through that. It really just depends on where we open. Like what we do right now, like I'll just look at it all after you just now extended overnight low or double touched it and now extended it. Um, yeah, so now we're in a gap lower. um, um, yeah. So we'll keep the scenarios pretty similar. Like now it's much harder to get to to clean this stuff up if we, like I said, like so we'll see. Like if we open up here, then I'd expect the quick cleanup and the potential lack of respect for settle. That could go either way. It could go for continued reversion back up into whoops, Monday or Thursday or Wednesday or whatever. This day's naked settle, naked POC and stuff. Or we could from settle revert lower and continue for yesterday's low. We could do both, and that would be for if we open near the highs, and if we open near the lows or in a gap lower, then gap scenarios would be all the same. Look for reversion and gap and go. Settle would be less important to me in this case because you're super far from it. So I'd be watching like the yesterday's low, overnight low, prior week's low, and then above would really like this 60-67 is already fixed up. So it's not really important, but I'd watch the volume from here. Maybe a bit lower, but the consolidation volume from the overnight. Basically 60-90 to 60-66. Whoops. 60-90 to 60-66. Yeah, so basically the middle of this profile. This is all overnight volume, and so this could get squishy or potentially just get slow. Like if we just grinding, but it potentially could also just become choppy, right? Or balanced. So that'll be an important area to watch on the test of it from below, right? For a reversion trade. Like if you can get above that area, then it looks much better. If not, and you like aren't respecting DGPs and you're getting stuck and you're not respecting things, then it's likely just one of the other two of the slow grind or the balance. So yeah, you're in a gap lower now, so um yeah, I guess we'll just draw scenarios as best as we can, right? So 1 second. Okay, sorry, I just had to pause for a second, and now we're no longer in a gap. No longer in a gap. Trading near the lows. So I'm just going to draw kind of relatively in the middle. I'll stick to the lower half for now, just because that's where we are right now. But we'll more so focus on the key areas today. So if we adjust this, we've got naked VPOC above, which is fine to be the only thing. We've got the MC above there. And then, yeah, really prior week's low would be the key thing on the low side. So, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Settle, overnight, naked stuff. And yesterday's low. yesterday's low, and we can add yesterday's high to the settle box. Going all over the place right now. Naked VPOC. Overnight high. Settle plus yesterday's high. Overnight VPOC. Yesterday's low. Overnight low. And prior week's low. Okay. So now we're back in the kind of the mid. Still kind of the lower portion. But we'll draw from roughly around here. So like I said, for a bullish scenario, if you're opening below overnight VPOC, this is going to be a key test area for me. If you can get a nice sort of breakthrough, similar to the trade I took yesterday, just with like an actual break. If you get a nice break, pull back, holds, overnight VPOC, full session, VWAP, whatever, could continue. That could be a good indication of the test of settle. And once you get into settle, if you get a nice break, then it looks good to just clean up, overnight high, prior low, gap is all there. From here, we could easily roll over, but if we do want to continue, then it'd go up into Wednesday's range where the naked settle, naked VPOC are. So these sort of areas would be the key areas I would expect resistance in on a push higher, aside from like this, which would be the test sort of to the area. And yeah, and vice versa. If we're opening above overnight VPOC, then I'm going to be looking for that just on the short side as well, right? Like this overnight VPOC will be a good gauge for sort of as an over-under. Not like a hard line in the sand over-under, but like a soft over-under where, okay, if we're sitting above there, then it at least looks good for the test of settle. Maybe we don't continue. It doesn't give you that. But it says, okay, this test of settle now is pretty likely, right? That's sort of all I use that trade for, which is why it's more of a scalp trade. So yeah, bearish scenario from roughly around this area. Yesterday's low will be key. We now have broken yesterday's low in the overnight, so that has changed. But we still preserved the weekly one time framing higher. But yeah, if we open down here, like an early break or an early fail would be telling, right? Yeah, and like from this point, we're not that far. Like once you end the one time framing, you get into pretty much just zone to zone territory. We've got the purple stock zone down in the 5950s. That is going to be a key test on that. That'll be the next key test I'll be looking for on the low side. But until then, it's really just zone to zone. And the failure, if we do end up opening down here and you get like the failure to touch or break overnight low or failure to break the one time framing and we start reverting, that would look good for the test of the overnight VPOC, that kind of thing. If we get good failure here, I think it'd come up and go through here for settle on the other side. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much it. Like I said, there is possibility for balance today, and like DGPs are pretty lined up. Like you've got settle down here, you've got overnight low yesterday's low, you've got overnight VPOC full session VWAP here. So if those things aren't being respected, it's more likely than not just balance. I think maybe because of the tariff stuff that just came out and the, I guess, reaction we had to it, we could be more directional today, maybe a bit more sporadic. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. So I know that was weird. That doesn't usually happen when I'm doing prep and kind of threw me off a bit. But I look pretty consistently at all the same things every day, and I just want to see the reactions really. So, yeah, that's it. Final look at the plan, and I will be back end of day for trade review. And I've only had the one trade that I showed yesterday this week, but I could start doing like Fridays, just sum up the whole week on as well. You know, like here's the P&L and ticks for this week. You know, that here's how many errors I had. Here's how many win losses I had. Blah, blah, blah. I could do that. Maybe I won't do that just yet, but I could do that pretty easily at some point. So just let me know. But yeah, I'll end it here, and I'll be back end of day for the end of day trade review.